Today we shall discuss about cone rod dystrophy. So what we will be discussing today here is the anatomy, how it is different from other diseases, then what is the pathophysiology, what is the treatment and the diagnosis. These are the things which you are going to look in for today's class. Okay, so just this is just a brief anatomy. So we all know photoreceptors are one which helps us seeing transform the light to the visual. It helps us transform light to the visualization. So we have two types of cells. One is the cone cells and the rod cells. So again, cone is used for photopic vision. So again, cone can be divided into small cone, M cone and L cone. So these are the things which why we have got that name is it is depends on its responsiveness to different wavelengths, smaller wavelength, longer wavelength and medium wavelength. So these are the reasons. Okay, so here in this case the ratio is of S cones are about 100:1. So this is how the ratio of S cones and the other cells are, other photoreceptors are going to be there. Then comes the rods. Rods are used for scotopic vision. Okay, scotopic is the dim illumination. So where the photoreceptors anatomically located is in between outer limiting membrane and the RP. Okay, so then how the photoreceptors work. So here, coming back here, photoreceptors has some proteins called as opsin. Okay, so these are the proteins which gets responded to the light. So for cone had photopsin and rod has scotopsin. So based on these aspects they get stimulated. So photopsin needs larger number of or brighter light to get that stimulated than scotopsin. So that's why, that is the reason in case of a dim light rods are responding, rods has scotopsin. So even with dim lights the rods are getting stimulated, whereas when it comes to cone needs brighter light which is the daylight, so which is the photopic vision. So that's why it gets photopsin gets stimulated with the brighter light. Okay, so what is cone rod dystrophy and how is it different from retinitis pigmentosa? So cone rod dystrophy is a inherited retinal dystrophy. Okay, so and it affects the retinal pigmentary part of the eye. So how is it different from RP, so which is the retinitis pigmentosa? In case of a retinitis pigmentosa there is a primary loss of rods, then there is a secondary loss of cones. In case of cone rod dystrophy there is a primary loss of cones, then there is a secondary loss of rods. Okay, so this is a major difference between RP and cone rod dystrophies. Okay, so coming other names which we use clinically to represent cone rod dystrophy is cone rod degeneration, cone rod retinal dystrophy, CORD, CRD, then retinal cone rod dystrophy and tapetoretinal degeneration. So these are the other names which we use for cone rod dystrophies. Okay, so coming to the prevalence, it is a rare disease but not a rarest of rare. So again it is how frequent it is 10 times less frequent than retinitis pigmentosa, and it is like males are more affected than females. Okay, so coming to the causes, there are mutations would occur in more than 30 genes and they are found to be the major reason for cone rod dystrophies. Okay, and these are the major genes which gets involved in the in cone rod dystrophies. Okay, so these are the major genes and their particular location and their particular name. Okay, so these are the major genes which involved in chondrodystrophies. Okay, again coming to the classification, it can be divided into two. So one is based on the natural history and other on the clinical description. Based on the natural history, it can be divided into stationary chondrodystrophy and the progressive chondrodystrophy, where based on the clinical description can be divided into non-syndromic and syndromic. So these are the characteristics of all four categories. In case of a stationary chondrodystrophy, it mostly occurs in the infants and with achromatopsia, with photophobia and nystagmus. Okay, so again it can be divided further subdivided into two types. One is a rod alone dystrophy and a incomplete achromatopsia, which is a blue cone alone. So in this case, the patient will have a normal vision and the fundus will also look normal, and this has a lesser prevalence when compared to other dystrophies, and it is 8% of men have this and then 5% of women are affected. Coming to progressive dystrophy, it is present in adolescence or in the early adult stage, and which also presents with the reduced visual acuity, and the patient will have a bullseye appearance. So coming to the family history, they will have a family history of color blindness, and it is a autosomal dominant inheritance. Okay, so coming back to non-syndromic dystrophy, it usually presents in the school life or in the early adult life with a decrease in visual acuity and central photophobia and reduced color vision. So fundus shows a pigment deposits, and then there might be a atrophy in the macula with pale disc changes. Okay, secondly there would be night blindness, which would be accompanied with that, and the patient will have very legal visual acuity of less than 6/60, which is a legal blindness. Coming to syndromic dystrophy, it is chondrodystrophy accompanied with any kind of systemic syndrome. So it is again they will have a reduced visual acuity, color vision, contrast sensitivity, and then there would be macular atrophy associated with the neurological issues, and then they may have a metabolic dysfunction as well. And these are the major syndromes which are which may manifest chondrod dystrophies. Okay, so what would be the differential diagnosis when the patient has a color vision is, these are the things these are the four conditions which you have to consider when they have come up with the color blindness. So the retinitis pigmentosa, level LCA, then the Stargardt's, then the cord dystrophies. Okay, so all these four has a almost similar signs and symptoms. Okay, here in case of what is coming to the clinical assessment, the history is more important, and it is when it comes to laboratory performance, they check for mutation, and then most frequently the genes they check for is these three. Okay, coming to the functional and symptomatic changes, the patient is going to have some kind of refractive error, mostly the myopia, then they will have a color vision deficiency, there will be a decrease in visual acuity, then there will be a photophobia, then there will be frequent chromatopsia, and then there will be a night blindness again. Okay, again coming to fundus examination, this is most of the time it would appear normal, but the thing is, it is the changes which you have to note down is for the pale disc. In case, you have to see if there is any pigment deposition, is there any attenuation of retinal blood vessels, is there any waxy pallor, and then is there any atrophies as well. These are the things which you have to look into fundus examination. So in case of a this is how a bullseye appearance looks like. Okay, so coming to FFA and white fundus fluorescence, this is because there is an atrophy, there is a pigment atrophy, there will be a windowing effect. Okay, the patient will show a window effect here. So because there will be a hyperfluorescence. So, and then coming to OCT, there will be a detachments here because of a space, and then there will be a loss of RPE seen. I mean the photoreceptors seen. The loss of photoreceptors will be noted. Okay. Coming to the visual field, there might be a central scotoma which will make them to feel difficult while reading, and then starting with that there will be a peripheral field effect which might start like a patchy appearance, and then as time goes there will be a severe visual loss. Okay, so this is how the patching starts. I mean the scotoma starts. Coming to ERG, the ERG will show both reduction in the amplitude as well as the implicit time would get. Again there is a shift in the implicit time. So this is like this is more predominant in case of a photopic than in a scotopic response. So this is a normal, and this is how it looks like in a cone response. So coming to the treatment, there is no treatment as of, but the researches are going on in case of a gene therapy and stem cell therapy, so which might increase the probability of slows down the probability of getting chondrodystrophies. So gene therapy is most, though it is more successful, it is like it can help in majority, but it is like delay the death of cells and then reduce the probability of getting the disease. So as a low vision, coming to the low vision, what you have to do is, so this is the only option where you can try to improvise their lifestyle, so just by giving a low vision device and then giving a rehabilitation. Coming to near vision, you have to make sure that they are able to read textbooks and then school books, because it occurs in the early adult life and the infants, and then you have to look into the professional consideration also. So you have to teach them how to read off the road signs, see the distance object with face, identify the face, and then with eccentric fixations. Then the functional goal is to decrease the glare and light sensitivity in all day tasks, because they have photophobia. Then the mobility is, you have to increase the walking confidence. You can ask them to use guide dogs, etc. Okay, and these are the references used. Maybe you can just have a read about this, so that would be more useful for you. Then thank you. So if you have any doubts, just put up in the comment box.